The Delta stands as one of the most dangerous and neglected regions in America. It's a stretch of land where poverty runs deep, the air stays thick with humidity, and swarms of mosquitoes are just part of daily life. Crumbling infrastructure and high rates of disease paint a grim picture, and that's before you even mention the violence. This region extends from Louisiana through Mississippi and Alabama, reaching into western Tennessee. For those unfamiliar, the Delta holds the highest poverty and violent crime rates in the entire country by far. The danger isn't just noticeable, it's overwhelming compared to anywhere else you could find yourself. The cities scattered throughout this region tell the story clearly. Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Jackson, Mobile, Birmingham, Shreveport, and towering above them all in size and reputation, Memphis, Tennessee. If you've never stepped foot in this part of the country, it's impossible to truly grasp the reality. The Delta isn't just struggling, it's on a different level entirely.
The last week has felt like an eternity for a Memphis woman.
No, my kids can't even go outside no more.
A simple act this mother no longer takes for granted after she and her uncle were shot outside of her home on Eldridge Avenue. This all stemmed from an argument at the B52 market where a man allegedly threatened to kill her after she confronted him about her child. She says the man then followed her home and opened fire.
Charges for the deadly crime spree in Memphis during Super Bowl Sunday. Cordarian Kraft was indicted on 48 counts, including first-degree murder and aggravated assault. During the crime spree, Kraft shot and killed one man, hurt two women, and carjacked two other people. That weekend in February, Kraft had been out on a $100,000 bond after being accused in a separate robbing and shooting this past November.
The last week has felt like an eternity for a woman in Memphis. My kids can't even go outside no more, she says, a simple act she no longer takes for granted. It all changed after she and her uncle were shot outside their home on Eldridge Avenue. The violence stemmed from a confrontation at the B52 market, where she says a man threatened to kill her after she stood up to him about something involving her child. Moments later, that same man allegedly followed her home and opened fire.
I opened the deep freezer to get a popsicle, stack some money in the deep freezer. If they drop me off over my auntie house to play with my cousin, they stack some money in they shit.
Violent crime in Memphis has spiraled completely out of control. To put things into perspective, in 2024, San Francisco, a city with a population of 850,000, recorded just 35 homicides. Meanwhile, Memphis, with only 600,000 residents, saw a staggering 357 homicides during that same period. That gives Memphis a homicide rate nearly 3 times higher than Chicago and 9 times higher than Los Angeles. It's a terrifying reality, but it hasn't always been this way. There was a time when Memphis thrived as a strong, middle-class city famous for its rock and roll, blues, and world-class barbecue. It had a booming military training base and served as a major trading hub along the Mississippi River. The city also played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement. But ironically, that same movement marked the beginning of its decline. As the push for equality gained ground in the 1960s, the white population of Memphis began leaving in droves. The exodus was swift and dramatic. In 1960, the city was 91% white. By 1990, that number had plummeted to just 24%. And while this shift wasn't about race, the consequences of such a massive population loss were devastating. With fewer residents came less tax revenue. Schools began shutting down, police departments lost funding, companies relocated, and the city entered a downward spiral that never truly stopped. Walk around Memphis today and you'll see the aftermath: abandoned homes, failing schools, widespread unemployment, and a glaring absence of law enforcement. In 2023, the city solved only 31% of its murders, compared to the national average of 65%. Memphis has become one of the hardest places in America to grow up in, and an even harder place to escape from. It's a place where success can paint a target on your back, where jealousy among friends can turn deadly, and where there's no structure, no rules, no mentors, just chaos. Welcome to the war zone that Memphis has become. This story begins in North Memphis, deep in the notorious Ridgecrest apartments, infamous for all the wrong reasons. It's here that a boy named Mario Mims was born in 1981. From the very beginning, Mario's life was wrapped in turmoil, not just in the streets outside, but inside the walls of his own home. As a young child, he witnessed his parents cooking and dealing drugs right there in the apartment scenes no child should ever be exposed to.
My grandma was she was little, she one of them little bitty ladies, you know what I'm saying? Then she older, but man, my grandmama don't play no game. I'm talking about, like, now it ain't even about the ass whoop. She would do that when I was little, but she still had this fear that made me fear her even when I was in high school and got grown and older. You feel me? Like, she give you this look, or she got this She'll cuss you out in a second and not even think about it.
Despite growing up in a toxic environment, Mario Mims, known today as Yo Gotti, was a sharp kid who managed to succeed in school. But when his teenage years hit, things changed. He was basically out on his own and had to grow up fast. At just 14, Gotti started hustling in the unforgiving streets of Memphis. He wasn't going in blind. He had learned the game directly from his family, and he played it well. The money gave him access to things he'd never dreamed of, like a Mustang GT on Dayton rims and fresh clothes. That was all that really mattered to him at the time. Still, deep down, Mario knew he didn't want to live the street life forever. He had bigger dreams. Inspired by the success of Memphis rap legends like 3 6 Mafia and 8 Ball and MJG, he saw a different path for himself. By the time he was 15, he was recording music and selling homemade CDs straight out of his trunk. Back then, he went by the name Lil Yo and dropped his first mixtape while still a sophomore in high school in 1996. Mario was relentless. He hustled his mixtapes for 13 straight years. No handouts, no shortcuts, just pure grind. Finally, in 2009, he broke into the mainstream with hits like 5 Star and Women Lie, Men Lie, featuring Lil Wayne. By then, he was in his 30s, a late bloomer in the rap game, but he knew the clock was ticking. He wouldn't be able to rap forever, so he began shifting into boss mode. In 2012, he founded his own label, CMG, which originally stood for Cocaine Money Gang. His vision was clear. He was already a Memphis legend, and he wanted to use that platform to lift up new talent from the city. But things started off slow. For the first 2 years, not a single artist signed with CMG. The interest just wasn't there. No disrespect, but in a world full of superstar labels, signing with Yo Gotti didn't exactly seem like the smartest career move at the time. But if there's one thing Gotti had proven, it was his patience and persistence. Just like with his own career, he was willing to wait for the right moment, the right artist. And that moment came in 2014. Now the story shifts to South Memphis in the infamous Castelia Heights neighborhood, a place where abandoned homes, rats, roaches, and constant gunfire made up the daily soundtrack. This is where Adolph Thornton Jr., better known as Young Dolph, was raised. Although he was born in Chicago, Dolph's roots were planted deep in Memphis. If you know anything about Chicago's black families, many of their grandparents migrated from places like Memphis and Mississippi. Dolph was no exception. His parents were caught up in the streets in Chicago, and knowing the environment wasn't safe for a child, they sent him down south to live with his grandmother. They thought it would offer him a better shot, a safer upbringing. His grandmother was strict and did her best to keep him in line, but the reality was Castelia Heights wasn't much safer than Chicago. In fact, it might have been even worse. Dolph came up from the absolute bottom, and because of that, his grandma fought to keep him disciplined, to keep him from becoming another statistic.
Yeah, right now, cuz. We in Castelia right now, cuz. What Dolph at, cuz? Where he at, cuz? Where he at? Where he at right now? Where he at? Where he at? Where he at?
Where you at,
Where he
dog?
at? See the last back.
Where you at, dog?
Where you at? Where you at? We in Castelia right now. We just left the store. Where you at right now, dog? Where you at right now? Where you at? Where you at?
CMG, bitch.
I love Castelia. Fuck with Dolph. Yeah, we don't fuck with Dolph. You fuck with Dolph, cuz? Fuck with Dolph, man.
He would later appreciate her discipline, but as a teenager, he didn't understand it and rebelled by jumping into the streets. While still in high school, Dolph started hustling the streets of Memphis and stacking up major paper. But again, just like Gotti, he knew he didn't want to do that forever and had bigger dreams for his life. He wanted to do something with music, but he wasn't sure if he even knew how to rap. That changed in 2008 when his friends got him into the studio and he realized he could actually rap. This became his new hustle and passion, and he began slanging mixtapes in the streets of Memphis. Slowly but surely, he gained traction. But he never had the idea of signing to a label instead. He wanted to start his own, and that's exactly what he did. In 2010, he started his label Paper Route ENT, also known as PRE. Basically, he created his own movement and gained recognition from Gucci Mane, Trey the Truth, Rick Ross, and most importantly, Yo Gotti. Yep, in 2014, Gotti discovered Young Dolph's mixtapes and music videos and saw all the potential in the world. He saw Dolph as Memphis's next superstar, but more importantly, CMG's first real breakout artist. At the time, other than Gotti himself, the CMG label hadn't seen real success. For Gotti, Dolph was the light at the end of the tunnel, the guy who could save the brand. On top of that, he figured Dolph signing with him was a no-brainer. Gotti thought, I'm the biggest, richest boss in Memphis. I can give him a deal he can't turn down. Plus, he believed there was trust between them since Dolph used to move weight with Gotti's older brother Jook, so in 2014, Gotti contacts Dolph and tries to sign sign him. He obviously expects Dolph to be ecstatic and ready to sign immediately, but that wasn't the case. In fact, Dolph had zero interest in signing with Yo Gotti, no matter how big the bag was. It was nothing personal. Dolph just didn't want to sign to another man. He wanted to be his own boss, so he respectfully declined. No hard feelings, just business. Now this all makes perfect sense, right? But here's where the story turns. It's the summer of 2014, just a couple of months after Dolph turned down Gotti's offer. This is when Dolph makes a surprising move. He signs a deal with a small, upcoming label based in San Francisco, Empire. If you know anything about Empire, you know it's not your typical label. It's more of a distribution company. You keep creative control and ownership, while they handle marketing and distribution for a percentage. It's a smart deal for a self-motivated hustler like Dolph. No label breathing down your neck or holding back your moves. But what mattered here wasn't the business structure, it was how Gotti felt. Think about it, Dolph told him, man to man, that he didn't want to sign any deal. Then, just a few months later, he signs one. To Gotti, that meant Dolph lied to his face. And as a boss from the same city, someone who used to do business with his own brother, Gotti felt Dolph should have been more honest and respectful. Now, whether Gotti was right or wrong, this is clearly how he felt. Unfortunately, he took it personally, and from here, tensions started to rise. While Gotti was feeling slighted, Dolph's career was on fire. He dropped hits like Preach, Cut It, and Get Paid. His mixtapes were doing serious numbers. By 2016, Dolph had become a household name, only adding more fuel to the fire. Now, on the outside, this still looked like a business disagreement that got a little heated, but behind the scenes, it was becoming much more than that. Dolph started to feel the pressure and the negative energy, and he'd had enough. So on February 19th, 2016, he decided to make a bold statement. He released his debut studio album titled King of Memphis. The title alone was enough to shake things up. He was publicly declaring that he was the top dog in a city that Yo Gotti had long considered his. As the saying goes, this city's too small for the both of us. Gotti didn't take it lightly, like, oh, you drop a couple of hot records and a few decent tapes and now you think you're running things? It didn't sit right with him. Right or wrong, Gotti saw it as the ultimate disrespect and wanted to prove a point. That brings us to Gotti's new artist at the time, Black Youngsta. To the public, Black Youngsta was a funny, energetic rapper who made club hits you could dance to. But those who knew him in the streets of Memphis knew he was about that life. And right after Dolph dropped King of Memphis, Black Youngsta responded with a message of his own. He recorded himself walking through Dolph's neighborhood, Castelia Heights, sending a not-so-subtle warning. Not so subtle.
This shit G, bro. Dolph, you a soft ass, you nice ass. If you got a problem, nigga say you got a problem. Shake ass. He ain't no motherfucking king of Memphis, he ain't king of South Memphis, he ain't from...
He then posted a video dissing Dolph, calling him soft, and claiming he wasn't the real King of Memphis.
Now, I mean, you already made your artist use my name to get some attention. I laughed at that. It's funny to me. You see what I'm saying? Right. It's funny to me.
So this is when the beef, up until now unknown to fans and the public, finally spilled onto the internet, grabbing everyone's attention. But according to Dolph, the whole thing caught him off guard. He was genuinely confused, like, we're beefing? Since when? To Dolph, it all seemed like nothing more than a desperate grab for attention. He honestly found it amusing and didn't take it seriously at all.
How do you get it first? How do Yo Gotti get popped and get some attention? Nobody heard of him to win. Till he dissed 3-6 Mafia.
This is true. Right, okay.
Right. You had to use 3-6 Mafia and dish them to get you some attention.
Right.
You made your artist use my name to get some attention. See what I'm saying?
But beyond just finding it funny, there was a bigger reason why Dolph didn't take it seriously, because in his eyes, Yo Gotti had a long history of doing this. According to Dolph, Gotti built his career off dissing other artists and starting fake beefs just to get attention. So from his perspective, this was nothing new. To him, it was like, oh, I get it. I'm just the latest target in Yo Gotti's clout-chasing playbook.
You hating on him because he wouldn't sign with you? Know what I mean? Right. You hating on him because he's popping, and he really popping, and he's still independent. Know what I mean? Right. You hating on him because he really got M's and did the shit without no help.
And to wrap it all up, Dolph made his position clear. He believed Yo Gotti wasn't mad about any deal, any song, or even the King of Memphis title. In Dolph's eyes, it all boiled down to one simple truth. Gotti is just hating on me because I'm successful.
Day party. I was leading a day party. And we was headed to where we was headed to. Pull out the lot on a day party, get up the street. They started shooting, they shot. Shooting was over with. And shit, I had another party to go to that night. You know what I mean? So, shit, we went and did our party that night.
Now you might be thinking this was just silly internet drama, and on the surface it kind of was. But in a city like Memphis, it doesn't take much to escalate things. Once you go on the radio talking about beef or pull up in someone else's neighborhood to throw shots, all that back and forth is out the window. Memphis isn't like other places when it's up, it's really up. And for no real reason at all, Dolph suddenly found himself a major target. There were people in the city fully ready to crash out for Yo Gotti, no questions asked. As you'll see, things only got worse from there, but backing down, that just wasn't in Dolph's DNA. If anything, he went the other way completely. He doubled down and dropped what would go on to become one of the most disrespectful diss tracks in rap history.